Infrastructure, building a better world.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. We are moving to the next stage of the pandemic. As the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the right balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. Here are tonight's news. Okay, first, we would like to welcome His Excellency Carlos Soreta, the Philippine Ambassador to Russia. Good evening from Manila, Mr. Ambassador.
Good evening.
There you go. Okay, so let's go right on ahead to the coronavirus cases in Russia. It seems that it's another record increase, 11,231 new infections in 24 hours, bringing the total to 177,000 plus. Russia now ranks 4th in the overall number of reported cases in Europe and 5th in the world. However, officials are attributing the increase to mass testing and detecting of asymptomatic cases. So also, Russia's mortality rate is low compared to other European countries. What measures are currently in place to clip the rise of cases there, Mr. Ambassador?
Hi, the testing has been the key. Testing has been massive, and it's essentially free, including retesting. If you feel you have symptoms, they will, and you call the emergency number, they will send medical personnel to your home to check you, test you, and to bring you to the hospital if necessary. So this has been a massive effort here in Moscow and all over Russia.
So also there was a flight arrangement made with the Philippine government to bring home some 650 Russian nationals affected by the quarantine imposed here in different parts of the country. Can you tell us more about this? How were you able to contact and gather every Russian in the Philippines?
This is really an effort by our Department of Tourism, our Coast Guard, local governments, and the Russian Embassy in Manila. They were able to gather many of the Russian tourists, particularly around the Visayas region, and brought them to Cebu, where the flight from Moscow picked them up. And gusto rin namin magpasalamat sa Russian government dahil yung flight na nanggaling dito para sunduin yung mga Russians, nakapaglagay din kami ng konting mga Filipino. So maraming salamat sa Russian government. May mga nakauwi dahil nakasakay doon sa Mercy flight nila.
So ship lang po ba ito or even flights po?
It was one long-haul flight.
Oh, okay.
From Moscow straight to Cebu, 14 hours.
Wow, 14 hours. It's a long flight. I would also like to ask, syempre po, yung ating Filipino community over there in Russia, how are they doing po?
Well, as can be expected, they're actually doing quite well under quarantine circumstances. They are finding ways to go through the isolation. We are in close coordination with the Russian authorities, and we only have one confirmed positive, but asymptomatic. And we are monitoring 3 more possible patients. They're being tested and retested. They're all asymptomatic. So we are closely monitoring them.
In case po they need medical help, how are we going to help them po?
Right now, the Russian government is taking very seriously every case, every potential case. Tututukan mo nila, basta may symptoms kayo, pupuntahan mo kayo, they will ask you questions. Ang hiling ko sa Filipino community dito, pag kinausap ko ng medical authorities, ay magsabihin ng totohanan, ibigay lahat ng information na hinihingi nila. Kasi babasihan nila yan sa kanilang treatment sa inyo. So we are very actively, whether it's foreigners or Russians, they will go to you. They will ask you not to go to the hospital or to the doctor, but to call them. They will. It's a massive effort. I see ambulances and medical vehicles moving around the city every hour.
So, how big is the Filipino community or population in Russia, and where is the concentration of Filipinos there?
We have about 8,000 Filipinos in Russia. So there's been a massive increase over the past few years. The vast majority is in Moscow, and they are working as household service workers or nannies, almost 90%, 95%. And the vast majority are women.
Paano po yung mga nawalan ng trabaho or naapektuhan po nitong coronavirus? How are we helping them po?
We would like to thank Dole because nung unang labas ng Dole Department Order tungkol sa financial assistance, di po kasama ang Russia. Pero after some appeals with the help of the Labor Attaché in Germany and the Department of Foreign Affairs, kasama po ang Russia. So malaking tulong po yun. And we also, every day here in the embassy, we give out food assistance packs to those who need it.
How else is the Filipino community helping each other over there po?
They are, some groups are helping each other with food, with finance. I'm meeting with the leaders this Saturday by video conference to discuss how best the Filipino community can help each other.
Sir, kumusta naman po ang ang trabaho po sa embassy? How has it been affected by this pandemic?
The embassy is manned 24/7. May tao dito palagi. We are open for emergencies. And then in terms of regular services, it's by appointment. Those who urgently need passports, documentation, make an appointment and we will process it. We are not processing other things though, unless it's very, very urgent.
I heard that in other topic po, I heard that agricultural trade is also on the aggressive rise. Why is this, and what is Russia interested in? Is it our coconut, fruit, seafood, or poultry markets?
Yes, we've been aggressively promoting our agricultural products to Russia. These are products that we do not have here. So our tropical and processed fruits, our coconut. And we've had success. Recently, we had a 40-foot container of coconut milk. Before that, we've had exports here of coconut sugar and flour, dried mango. And we've already signed a rather large contract for canned tuna. We exported to Russia.
How about tourism between our two countries po? How promising or lively is the tourist scenario for Russia and the Philippines, do you think, post-COVID po?
Every Russian who's gone to the Philippines has told me that they want to come back. And we are our best ambassadors for it. We have been promoting aggressively Philippine tourism, but the numbers have been low because we're just virtually starting now, and we're competing with countries in Southeast Asia who get over 1 million tourists a year. So I think that we might hopefully hit the high travel months, which is the fall and winter, and that they will travel to the Philippines, and that the Philippines is ready to take on this possibly large inflow of tourists.
On a personal note po, Mr. Ambassador, how are you doing during this time of pandemic and crisis? Kumusta naman po kayo dyan?
Thank you for asking. All the staff here is doing well. We're all trying not to weigh ourselves. So we are in contact every day at 9 a.m. Every day we have a roll call using social media. Every Monday we also have our flag raising and prayers as usual, but through video conferencing.
And you and your family po, how are you coping naman po?
I enjoy the solitude and time spent with my family. I hope my wife is listening.
Can you give us some tips po during these times of crisis? How do you stay positive and how do you stay optimistic po during these times of crisis po?
There's still a lot of work. There's still a lot of work. There's still a bit of news we need to in terms of helping our Filipinos and some of the strategic work we're doing, like negotiating a bilateral labor agreement. And on the defense side, there's still a lot of work. Russia is focusing now on battling COVID, but we have to be a bit more strategic and be ready once the bureaucracy is back fully and can fully engage us in our pursuing our national interest here in Russia.
And your message, sir, Ambassador, to the Filipinos right now and everybody watching you right now, sir.
Hello to everyone watching the news all over the world, particularly sa Pilipinas. Yung mga kamag-anak po ng mga Pilipino dito sa Russia, wag po kayong masyadong mag-alala. They are doing well. They are following the isolation rules, which are strongly enforced by digital technology here in Russia. So it's very difficult to violate. So they are obeying the rules. Infection is extremely low. 1 out of 8,000 right now. And the contact was from an employer. So right now we have no evidence of Filipino to Filipino infection. So I think in that sense, we're still hoping for the best.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for your time and thank you for taking care of our Filipino community there. Mabuhay po kayo. Salamat po.
Thank you.
Eagle News, we'll be right back.
The Metro Rail Transit 7, or MRT-7, is a planned rail and road project from North Avenue, Quezon City to San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, with 14 stations, which can service 650,000 passengers daily. And very soon, the construction of the New Manila International Airport in Bulacan, Bulacan is expected to accommodate 100 million passengers annually and promises to be another significant contribution to progress in the Philippines.
Ein sonniger Tag heute hier in Berlin vor dem Bundestag. Ich bin Irene Juliet Arzadon und möchte diese Gelegenheit nutzen, um ein paar Worte mit euch zu teilen. An alle Menschen da draußen. In dieser Zeit, lasst uns nicht vergessen, den Menschen zu danken, die ihr Leben für uns opfern. Sei es die Menschen, die im Krankenhaus arbeiten, in den Altenheimen sowie in den Arztpraxen, aber auch an die Menschen, die im Lebensmittelhandel sich befinden. Die Kassierer. Manchmal reicht es aus, um ihnen ein freundliches Lächeln zu geben. Denn die Menschen, die heute am Arbeiten sind, weil sie nicht so wie einige von uns zu Hause bleiben können, die sollten wir wertschätzen. Ihnen sollten wir unseren Dank ausrichten. Darum lasst uns noch mehr zusammenhalten. Sie wertschätzen.
All right, going now to the Netherlands, the country has announced an easing of its coronavirus lockdown, outlining a 4-month plan to phase out some social restrictions. Joining us live from the Netherlands is Malu Francisco. Hello, Malu.
Oh, hi, Alma. Good evening.
Good
over
evening.
There.
How are you? How are you doing? Good to see you.
Oh, same here. Doing fine, doing great.
That's good. So what are the updates in the Netherlands? Looks like you're reopening the economy already.
Oh, yes,
Starting there.
helping the economy gradually. So the Dutch government is implementing a 5-phase plan to relax restrictions as the fight against COVID-19 continues. The plan also aims to support the various sectors of the economy. Prime Minister Mark Rutte made the announcement at the press conference Wednesday night, Central European Summer Time. However, the government emphasizes that the plan is subject to reviews before each state can be finally implemented on different dates from May to September. And for this to be successful, The cooperation of the country's residents is critical. They're reminded to continue the basic rules: 1.5 meters social distancing in public, staying at home when the person has symptoms, wearing face masks where required, and other hygiene practices. At the same time, the Dutch government will provide widespread coronavirus testing and more capacity in the country's intensive care units. As to the five-phase plan, here are some of the details. Phase 1 begins on Monday next week, May 11, the limited opening of primary schools, daycare facilities, and some sports activities. The libraries will also reopen, and some close contact professions like beauty salons will be reopened, but by appointments. Phase 2 will begin on June 1st and allowed our non-contact outdoor sports. Restaurants and other catering facilities will reopen their terraces. By the way, this is something new. Public transport will begin to follow its normal schedule on the condition that passengers wear non-medical face masks when traveling. Then on June 15, Phase 3 begins, secondary vocational education reopens, and finally Phase 4 and Phase 5 will begin on July 1st and September 1st, respectively. To reopen or to be allowed are groups of up to 100 people to visit cinemas, cafes, cultural institutions, so that will include museums, and that's beginning July 1st. Restaurants, church services, funerals, weddings, and other organized small events will be allowed. Finally, Phase 5, that begins on September the 1st, paid professional sports could begin again, as well as all contact sports and indoor sports, regardless of the participants' ages. Other businesses will also open, but this will include fitness clubs, saunas and wellness centers, club canteens, but this will depend on how the plan will result in. But meanwhile, reactions from some people say that the Dutch government is easing the measures too quickly. A local media reports that according to a survey of 90,000 Dutch by the National Institute for Public Health and the Environment and the Health Services, over 2/3 of Netherlands residents said that they've noticed people getting too close to them, especially in supermarkets and at the office. And as to the numbers, current numbers, COVID-19, released 6th of May 2020 by the National Institute for Public Health and the Environment, positive tested persons over 41,000, that is 41,319, admitted to hospital, 11,153, and the reported deaths over 5,204. So far, that's the update from the Netherlands. Alma?
So what is the criteria for opening the government or the economy of seen by the government to reopen the economy?
All right. The numbers are indicating that the measures are really working. Mm-hmm. But again, the government reiterates and emphasizes that it will depend, that the success will depend on the behavior of the people. Mm-hmm. And that's why Prime Minister Mark Rutte reminded the country, the nation, about following the different measures, especially social distancing, avoiding crowds, and so on. Mm-hmm. And they have to adhere to these measures. In fact, this morning, according to a report by a local media, mm-hmm. although trains are allowed to run, more trains are allowed to run, but this morning, a train from a train station going to Amsterdam was canceled. The ride was canceled because there were just too many passengers, and none of the passengers or travelers would like to get out. So the National Railway Station decided to cancel the ride.
Oh my. So with that kind of behavior, we shall see if the reopening of the economy in phases will go ahead, will go as planned. Yeah.
Yes, and also about the nursing homes.
Yes.
Okay, this is running on experimental basis now. They're experimenting how the turnout will be. So visiting will be allowed just in one residence or in one nursing station first. Okay?
Oh, okay.
And then they'll see the results, how it's going.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll wait for more updates over there. May 11 is the first phase.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
May
And
11.
again, they will have to review everything from now on to that time, and probably between this time and May 11, that's going to be next week, how things are running.
And we will be waiting.
Yes. All right.
Okay, stay well, Kamalu, and please do stay healthy, because we will be waiting for your updates over there in the Netherlands. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In the Netherlands, Marilu Francisco, and we live in interesting times.
Now, the government of Canada is taking steps to support the farmers and businesses who provide Canadians with the food they need during this pandemic, plus other 8 workers affected by the crisis. Joining us live from Toronto, Canada, is Marco Zerudo. Hello, Marco.
Hello, Alma. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. Thank you for asking. What are your updates? Excited to hear your updates over there in Toronto.
When it comes to the federal government, they really have tried to step up when it comes to helping the agricultural sector of Canada, because it really has taken a hit when it comes to the different effects of COVID-19. Recently, Justin Trudeau announced that they will be helping the farmers with the amount of about $250 million to support farmers, food businesses, and food processors who basically help out with the essential services of passing on the food around to all Canadians across the different provinces. And on top of that, they also said that they will continue to invest in the agricultural sector, depending on how this unfolds, with an additional $200 million. And that is just the initial response. They will be responding more as this continues to unfold.
And the pandemic pay raise for essential workers. There is a pandemic pay raise for essential workers?
That's right. When it comes to the frontline workers,
Yes.
what they say, the heroes of this current pandemic, the province of Ontario has recently launched a pandemic raise for all of those who work in the front lines. So on top of their regular salary, all of them will be earning an extra $4 an hour every month. At the end of the month, they'll continue to also receive extra payments of about $250. And then so when you add it all up for those who are working regular 40-hour shifts a week, it's going to come out to about a little over $3,500 in the span of this measure, which will be about 4 months. So those who are working in the front lines are those in long-term care homes, retirement homes, hospitals, emergency shelters, and those who are preparing food and cleaning the different rooms inside the hospital. So everyone who has really stepped up to be the frontline workers, the Ontario government has given a thank you to them, so that we can continue to all help out and unite when it comes to getting through this current pandemic.
Also, Ontario is just like other countries and provinces over there in Canada. Ontario has announced some businesses will be open, can now open. Can you update us on this?
Yeah, when it comes to Ontario, again, they recently announced that they will be opening certain stores when it comes to starting next weekend. So next week, I should say. So starting May 9th, which is this weekend, there will be hardware stores who will be allowed to open. And starting on Monday, May 11th, those stores who have doors on curbsides will be allowed to be opened as long as they are allowing only curbside pickup. And they follow, of course, the rules that have been hashed out by the provincial government when it comes to physical distancing, proper hygiene, when it comes to the workers, PPE, and all those things that right now are needed when it comes to making sure that we are minimizing the spread of COVID-19. So a lot of Ontarians, when it comes to owning businesses, have really been waiting for this news. Premier Doug Ford has told them all, stay tuned. We will be giving you some good news soon. And now this is the good news. It's the first step, and everyone is excited so that we can get the economy started again.
For sure. So what's the criteria of the government for reopening businesses now?
When it comes to the criteria, there will be inspectors. They'll be coming in there. They'll be making sure that there are things like when it comes to the transactions, there's a plexiglass, making sure that workers, depending on the job sites, they have to be wearing particular protective equipment. There has to be hand washing stations. There's a lot of different measures, and depending on the business, they will have to adhere to. And they are hiring extra inspectors to go around the cities and the province so that they are adhering to them so that everyone is safe and everyone can conduct business properly.
All right. Thank you so much for your updates, Marco. And we'll wait for more updates over there in Toronto. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alma.
And the province of British Columbia, also in Canada, has outlined its plan to reopen the city in the wake of COVID-19's impacts on the economy. Joining us live from Vancouver is Archie Rose Natividad Ye. Hello, Archie Rose.
Hi, Alma. Hello.
Good to see you. How are you?
Hi, nice to see you too. Doing well, thank you.
So what are your updates over there in Vancouver?
Yep, in the latest update about COVID-19 in BC, Premier John Horgan has announced BC's restart plan, the next steps for the province in moving through the pandemic. With fewer cases each day and a decline in the rate of transmission, BC has shown a strong effort in flattening the curve, which has led to the province to yield results better than most. To date, there is a total of 2,255 cases and 124 deaths. 1,494 people who had tested positive have now recovered. British Columbia has the lowest mortality of any jurisdiction in North America or Europe, with a population of more than 5 million. With these results, the provincial government is making ways for the province to reopen, easing restrictions by allowing small gatherings of up to 6 people by next weekend, and allowing some parts of the economy to reopen. The Premier emphasized that BC residents must continue to work together to keep the balance of protecting lives and in rebuilding the economy safely. Through the extensive use of mathematical modeling, data showing the movements of British Columbians at 70% physical distancing, and by continuing to follow existing protective measures, the province can expect a further decline in the rate of infections. There is a very cautious approach in restarting the province of British Columbia, with phase 2 to start in mid-May. The next phase of the restart plan include the restoration of health services. This would include rescheduling elective surgeries that were postponed, and other services like dentistry, physiotherapy, and in-person counseling to resume. Small social gatherings and the opening of more non-essential businesses in keeping with a safe operations plan using plexiglass barriers and redesigned spaces with distancing in mind. Different organizational sectors will be asked to develop enhanced protocols in line with the public health and safety guidelines in order to move forward with reopening. If the transmission rates remain low and continue to dwindle, the target date for phase 3 in the restart plan is between June and September of this year. The reopening of additional businesses in the third phase include the openings of hotels and resorts, provincial parks and campgrounds, post-secondary and K-12 education with partial reopening in June, and full opening in September. British Columbia will only move into phase 4 once there is a clear indication of community immunity or wide vaccination. This will then extend the reopening of activities allowing for large gatherings, major public events, and international tourism. There continues to be a strong emphasis on maintaining physical distancing, regular hand washing, and minimizing non-essential travel. And to quote Premier John Horgan, there is much more to do, but we will get through this pandemic to better days by working together and keeping each other safe. Alma?
Right. So, with the reopening of the economy, we know we are not living in normal situations. What risks will need managing when BC reopens its economy?
Definitely the public health and safety risk, a potential spike or another wave of transmission. However, BC residents have displayed unified actions in following public health orders, which has led to decline in cases to date. The provincial government is optimistic that so long as residents continue to follow protocols for public safety, the balance in reopening the economy could be achieved. The main question is, how do we keep everyone safe while trying to jumpstart the economy? By introducing the restart plan in phases, it will certainly help to mitigate risk. For businesses and sectors, it will be challenging to figure out how to bring employees back to work. You know, this could include redesigning spaces, staggered shifts, additional costs related with keeping protocol, which brings a new set of issues to deal with in an already frail state of starting fresh. So many experts aren't able to pinpoint what balance could really be until hindsight, but it seems that a careful, gradual approach, which is what many other provinces across Canada are doing, is a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Archie Rose, for your updates, and thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you so much. In Vancouver, Archie Rose, Natividad Yi, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Over in Japan, a state of emergency has been extended until the end of May. So rules, standards for testing people suspected of being infected with the coronavirus will now be revised. Prime Minister Abe Shinzo on Monday extended the state of emergency until the end of May, warning it was too soon to begin relaxing restrictions. Joining us live from Japan is Dennis Liu. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Alma. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, what are
And to
your
all our
updates?
viewers,
Yes.
right? Yes, Alma. To prevent the spreading of the coronavirus in Japan last Monday, the state of emergency has been extended until the end of May. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government confirmed 38 new virus infections yesterday, Wednesday, and is already the fourth consecutive day where the infection is lower than 100. Since the state of emergency has been extended until the end of May this month, the health minister said on Wednesday that the rules and standards for testing people suspected of being infected with the new coronavirus will be revised. The Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare will soon be set, and it is no longer limited to people who sustained a fever of 35.5 degrees centigrade or higher in consecutive 4 days. Anyone who feels they have a high fever can soon be able to consult a local healthcare center that would refer them to an outpatient clinic or medical institution. The plan to change was made after a number of people were denied to be tested for not meeting the existing guidelines in some situations. Their health weakened as their symptoms worsened. Under these changes, people with cold-like symptoms of fever even below 37.5 and a cough for 4 consecutive days are advised to consult a local physician and health center. The previous number of PCR testing has been very low because of the shortage of manpower and preparation in advance. The government is hoping to increase its capacity to conduct as much as 20,000 tests per day. According to an undisclosed data of government panel of experts, Japan only conducted 188 PCR tests per 10,000 people, while other countries conducted more than 1,000. Last April, the ministry changed its policy for patients with mild symptoms to self-quarantine themselves, where two men died in Saitama Prefecture after doing self-quarantine in their own houses when their conditions suddenly worsened. According to a survey conducted on the state of facilities housing COVID-19 patients, the ministry found that out of 8,711 patients, only 1,984 are in their own houses. A study showed on Wednesday that as of April 28 from various prefectural governments, out of those 5,558 who were tested positive and are hospitalized, only 147 patients are at social welfare facilities for the elderly and people with disabilities, while all others are in various unconfirmed locations. This is the latest for now. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Dennis, for your updates. We'll see you soon. Much appreciated for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, this is Dennis Liu. We live in interesting times.
And Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said it was still too early to lift the lockdown, although statistics show that the number of people dying with the coronavirus in Scotland has already fallen for the first time. Joining us live is Divina Morales. Hello, Divina.
Hello, Alma. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. What are your updates for us?
Okay. Too early to lift lockdown in Scotland, says Sturgeon. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will set out his plan to ease a nationwide coronavirus lockdown next Sunday, media reports said. As new guidance emerged on how to maintain social distancing in workplaces, the stay-at-home orders imposed in late March are up for review on Thursday in Britain, one of the worst-hit countries in the COVID-19 pandemic. But the government has already said the measures will be eased only gradually. But Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon signaled she had no plans to do the same, and that the plans are being made to start a test, trace, and isolate, or the TTI method, to locate those who are infected. The number of people being infected are still too high to make any meaningful change. It comes amid claims coronavirus may have peaked in Scotland, according to new weekly death figures, as the number of deaths linked to COVID-19 across the country have fallen for the first time. The death toll reached 1,703, as 83 more Scots passed away. Meanwhile, a third of Scotland's workforce could be furloughed or left jobless because of the COVID-19 crisis. Experts have warned that a massive 900,000 are expected to be affected by the outbreak, with 150,000 of those facing the door. The remaining 750,000 could end up on the government's job retention scheme, which pays staff 80% of their wage. New guidance drawn up with company bosses and trade unions, seen by the BBC and the Financial Times, suggests British office workers will be encouraged to stay at home for months to avoid overwhelming the transport system. But where staff must come in, companies are being urged to stagger shifts, stop people sharing desks or stationery, step up hygiene measures, keep staff canteens shut, and restrict the number of people in lifts. Yes, Alma?
Okay. So what are the plans of the government to reduce the numbers of coronavirus cases further?
Well, Alma, today's figure also brings into focus the continuing bad news from care homes, where this disease keeps claiming lives. So, while the overall number of deaths fall, the proportion of deaths in this setting is continuing to rise. The Scottish government set out options for easing lockdown, which are being considered, including relaxing rules on daily exercise and meeting people. It also suggests ways that schools could eventually start to reopen. First Minister Sturgeon stressed that they are not recommending these options at the moment, but offer them as examples of what may come next and the kind of preparations that are underway. She said for the moment, people need to continue to abide by the lockdown rules, and the message remains clear. Please stay at home, except for essential purposes. The Scottish government is also appealing for people to contribute to the debate about the best way forward and has set up a special website for this to be submitted. The public must give their feedback by the 11th of May, 2020. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much for that update, Divina. It's good to see you. And we'll wait for more updates over there in Scotland. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Alma. This is Divina Morales reporting for ABC Scotland. We live in interesting times.
Eagle News will be right back.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon, hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
We are urging our viewers and listeners around the world to help raise COVID-19 relief from PPEs to relief goods. The primary beneficiary of the proceeds will go to the FYM Medical Foundation that also supports the New Era General Hospital, which maintains a biocontainment facility, also intended for COVID-19 patients.
Here are the many ways to donate and be able to help health workers and frontliners through the FYM Medical Foundation as our beneficiary. First, donate via pymy.co/EBC. Just use any Visa, MasterCard, or JCB credit, debit, or prepaid card and donate by logging on to pymy.co/EBC. Just choose an amount you wish to donate and enter your card details. Second, donate via the PayMaya app. If you have a PayMaya account, you can easily donate by scanning the QR code you see on the screen. Just log on to your app, click the scan button, point your camera to the QR code that you see on the screen, and enter the amount you wish to donate. Third, donate via PayPal. For PayPal app users, just log on to eaglenews.ph and click the PayPal Donate Now button found at the upper portion of the website. Input the amount you wish to donate, click Use this donation for Enjoy Music Beyond the Crisis, and choose between Donate with PayPal or Donate with a credit card in order to enter your additional information. Fourth, donate directly to the EBC bank account that is flashing on your screens. You can complete transactions online or directly with your banks. Wherever you are in the world, you can easily help those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, even while at home, through our beneficiary FYM Medical Foundation. Donate now and watch out for the next performances of Enjoy Music Beyond the Crisis EBC 52nd Anniversary Special on Net25 and on all social media channels on May 10th and 17th, 2020. Together, let's all do our part and stand as one against COVID-19. This is Julianne. We live in interesting times.
As COVID-19 deaths climb even higher in Europe and the United States, millions of lives are at risk in developing nations where lockdowns and overwhelmed medical systems are disrupting vital testing, vaccination and treatment for other killer diseases. Take a look.
As of today, May 1, dozens of countries are at risk of stockout due to delayed vaccine shipments. At most risk are 26 countries that are difficult to reach due to limited commercial and cargo space options. Among these, at least 5 countries experienced measles outbreaks in 2019 and many more remain at risk. Countries with limited resources will struggle to pay these higher prices, leaving children vulnerable to vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles and polio. Disruptions in routine immunization, particularly in countries with weak health systems, could lead to disastrous outbreaks in 2020 and well beyond. The extended delays in shipments also pose a huge risk to manufacturers who must store the excess vaccine stock and may be required to postpone future production if their warehouse storage space is exceeded. UNICEF is appealing to governments, the private sector, the airline industry, and others to free up freight space at affordable cost for these life-saving vaccines, and to work with us to find ways around the transport disruptions we face. Children's lives are at stake.
The Chief Operating Officer of the International Finance Corporation, or IFC, Stephanie von Friedenberg, today expressed concern about the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the global economy. Take a look.
If you look at production, employment, trade, all are down. And I worry greatly for emerging markets. We have already seen somewhere in the range of $100 billion leave emerging markets since the beginning of January. And we're estimating that foreign direct investment will be down 40% in both 2020 and 2021 from its base in 2019. I would start by saying it doesn't matter whether you're in a developed country or a developing country. Locking down an economy creates insolvency. And what we're going to see is a rise in unemployment and a loss of jobs, liquidity issues at the firm level, and the longer the lockdown lasts, the more probability of insolvency. Think relief, restructure, recovery. So on the relief phase, which is really phase 1, where we are, our intention is to try to the extent possible to help prevent the destruction of markets and the destruction of companies. We're trying to ensure to the extent possible that we keep as many jobs as we can in emerging markets.
As the pandemic reshapes the way in which we work, keep in touch, go to school, and shop for essentials across the world, it has never been more important to bridge the digital divide for the 3.6 billion people who remain offline. This is according to top experts from the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU, who outlined the implications of the new coronavirus pandemic during a digital briefing to correspondents accredited to the UN in Geneva. Take a look.
digital new society already came to our life, but we never imagined that we could be forced to stay at home and to use the digital world to connect ourselves, to make our business continue. So that is something absolutely new. We should also recognize that the ICT services, ICT networks are not that kind of easily managed, because nobody could imagine that under such circumstances, that the traffic is to some extent tripled.
Additional spectrum has been identified that can be used for new technologies to help provide coverage and affordable prices to underserved communities. These technologies are both satellite and terrestrial based and can cover large areas. They promise to enable affordable broadband access in rural and remote areas.
There's a lot of talk about the need to define the new normal in our post-COVID world, and for me, that new normal needs to really include broadband access for all. The COVID-19 crisis has also resulted in a huge surge in all kinds of online criminal activity. Bad actors have been exploiting fear and uncertainty, and my own cybersecurity team has set up an online repository to really help countries to be able to protect their networks, businesses, and of course their users. And then linked to this, of course, is the risks for children.
For all the dangers that current scenario presents and for basic challenges such as the unavailability of electric power, the ITU officials remained optimistic about the opportunities that are afforded by the present crisis to leverage newfound political to deliver connectivity for all. In addition to expanding access globally, the ITU has been studying different technologies that have been submitted to it for contact tracing during the pandemic. Although Dr. Reinhard Scholl, the Deputy Director of the organization's Telecommunication Standard Bureau, said that the world would have to wait for the dust to settle before recommendations could be made as to which works best. The ITU's top official, Zhao, said that as the world contemplates the post-COVID future, the global development of 5G networks would be absolutely essential to deliver such services as remote surgery and autonomous driving. Plans for the 5G would have to be included in national development strategies. And finally, in our news, youth leaders in a Philippine village are reminding residents to stay home and observe physical distancing in homemade costumes of the Star Wars icons, Darth Vader and Storm Troopers. Take a look.
Yung paggawa ng costume ni Darth Vader at ng Stormtroopers para po maibsan yung stress na nararamdaman ng mga bata, pati na rin po ng mga kasama nila sa bahay. At para naman po mabawasan yung pag-iisip nila sa COVID, lalo na po ngayon nasa quarantine po tayo.
Umuwi na. Sila. Siyempre, gusto namin para matanggal yung stress. Hindi lang yung puro takot. Kailangan may kumbaga sa may katuwaan din.
And before we close, we'll leave you with a word of hope. At the end of the day, there remains so much more to be grateful for. See you again tomorrow evening. Good night. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
This program was brought to you by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world.
Isang magandang imbitasyon po para sa inyong lahat. Ngayong May 9, May 10, dito po sa Net 25. Hala, ito na ang bagong programa. Ang pamagat ay Tagisan ng Galing. Makikita po natin kung gaano kagaling ang Pilipino. Ang Pinoy ay talagang magaling. Ito po ay pang-aliw, pangkasiyahan, at siguradong magugustuhan ninyo. Net 25, May 9, May 10, Tagisan ng Galing.
Sa ating paglalaro sa basketball, mayroon tayong gagamitin na rules. Foul! Minsan, hindi natin sinasadya. Nakakasakit na pala tayo. Kaya iniiwan tayo. Traveling! Masarap mag-travel, lalo't kasama mo siya. Pero, kasama mo nga siya, iba namang nasa isip niya. Out of bounds! Masaya sa simula, may hangganan din pala. Substitution! Meron tayo, substitution. Pwede kang pumalit sa lugar niya, pero huwag mong kakalimutan, kaibigan ka lang niya. Time out! Pwede kayo magpahinga, nakakapagod na, kapag pinaglalaroan ka.
Uy! Nandiyan pala kayo ha. Gusto ko lang ipaalam sa inyo na meron ng EVC Films dyan sa YouTube. Kaya ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Mag-subscribe na!
Basta't Pilipino, tiyak na may angking galing at talento. Panoorin ang paligsahan at pagalingan ng mga kababayan natin sa larangan ng pagkanta, pagsayaw at iba pang talento dito sa Tagisan ng Galing. Mag-uumpisa na sa May 9 at 10, 2020, Sabado at Linggo sa Net 25. Keep safe mga kababayan at stay at home. Watch Tagisan ng Galing!